live.
Welcome to another unauthorized treasure into the Sharky Waters around the Gut Galaxy with Queen Raae.
And
I'm your host, Captain Ravel, and today's guest is the great and powerful Taylor.
And I love that you kind of embrace the theme of the show.
So much fun. So much
Yes.
fun. I even have my grog with me today, especially for this stream.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I also got one today, a little English cider. I'm
There you
always
go.
afraid that YouTube will like penalize me. So I try not to show it off too much
Yeah.
because suddenly I get a strike and we're out. So
Yeah.
yeah, you never know. Do you have your Tinkerbell, Taskerbell tasks? I should learn. I should know this by now. So, what are we doing today? We are refactoring distribute aids Gatsby code from using page context to page queries for their region pages, at least, and maybe some more, depending on how long it takes to get one done. And why are we doing this? Well, I don't know why. No, just kidding. When you push things through the page context, you kind of lose the data layer goodness that Gatsby gives us. So Gatsby knows kind of nothing about what data that page is dependent on. So it can't do anything smart when it comes to like hot reloading or reusing or not rebuilding pages. So if you have a lot of page context, I think it keeps rebuilding. We'll have a look at what they're saying specifically. And then how we'll just copy kind of the GraphQL query from where we're creating pages, and then we're putting that into the page template instead. So that's like a high level what we're doing. But first, maybe a quick chat about what distributed aid is, so people have some context. I'll share my screen and like show the front page, and then Taylor could do a little intro if you feel like it.
Oh yeah, I love giving the pitch.
I'll get it up on the stream. Not this. Look at me. I got Disney Plus. That's like that's what shows up on my. Oh yeah, you didn't see it because I forgot to put it on the screen. There we go. So distributed aid. This is the page the site we're gonna be working on.
Yeah.
And what do you guys do?
So, what up, Noel? See you in the comments. Thanks for tuning in. Noel's awesome. He's one of our contributors. Got started recently. It's new dev. Yeah, ahoy, matey.
Cool. Ahoy.
Ahoy. So, Distribute Aid, we organize the world's largest mutual aid supply chain, right? So, the couple, let me break that down for you. World's largest. Okay, we're not sending the most trucks for humanitarian aid responses or anything like that, but we work with over 140 grassroots groups and small charities to help them manage their supply chains. And our goal is to connect these communities around the world, making it easy for people to send help and aid to where it's needed, but also to connect with the people that they're supporting. And then vice versa. If you've been sending aid out and something that happens in your town, you have a whole bunch of friends over the world that turn around and help you too, right? So it's a bit of a give and a take. We're all in it together sort of mentality, solidarity, not charity. What we do on a day-to-day basis is everything that it takes. So start off with a needs-first approach. Say, okay, let's look at Ukraine. Let's look at refugees in Greece. Let's look at, disaster response. Like there's a water crisis in American cities right now. What goods do people need to get through, some of the hardest times in their lives? And then we go out to our collection partners, the smaller community groups that are gathering secondhand clothing or doing, kind of fundraising drives or, donation drives for items. We go out to corporate in-kind donors. We're starting to look into procurement, which is really exciting, hoping to get some money into the Ukrainian economy and to purchase aid to help other people. We source the aid, and then we handle the end-to-end logistics. So we'll book the trucks, we'll deal with customs and import and export, we'll follow up with the receiving groups, do quality control and stuff like that. Just to put some numbers on it, I think last year we shipped 32 trucks and containers of aid, the big 18-wheelers. We also ran the supply chain for Fort Pickett, one of the Afghan safe havens with 10,000 people that went through there. And ended up moving about 14.7 million euros worth of aid. We're an all volunteer team. So it's like this is really we just want to do this so that all these small charities can access the large real world supply chain, make it easy for them to go out and do good in the world. But we're not doing it for them. We're doing it with them. We're also a grassroots organization.
Cool.
And I just chanced upon this through my GitHub notification, not notification, but the GitHub feed. I feel like the GitHub feed is starting to almost be like a better Twitter in some way. I was like, I think it was Ramon or Coder by Heart Marcus who did something and was like, oh, this is a Gatsby project. And I went I was in there. And that's how we ended up on the stream.
I was so excited to see you start contributing because I've been following you on Twitter for a while. I'm like, oh my gosh, Raae's contributing to our tiny little landing site. How cool is that?
Because I'm guessing the Gatsby site does not run all of the logistics in the back end.
It actually does. I mean, we have the forestry CMS, and we're building out. It's starting off with kind of an Excel-based data pipeline. So we have lots of spreadsheets in the logistics world. We're putting all that data together, exporting it to JSON, and just loading it up. So it's a lot of manual processes in the back end. One of our goals, though, it's really interesting because we can work in the open so well, right? We can work in public, is that what we do for the landing site will eventually become the front ends for the platform we want to build, right? We're kind of, rather than going back to front and start with, all the forms and the login and stuff, which is slow, especially for a smaller open source project. We want to start with the exciting stuff. We want to show the world what we're doing, what our partners are doing, kind of figure out, what data needs to get in there to do that. And then we can, take that React code and plug it into more of a full stack web app.
I like it. So what I did when I was looking at this a little bit was just clicking through, and I remember going here to create pages, and I looked at the create regions page, I think, and there was a very large query here for data, and then you loop through all of those regions, and then you kind of push the whole node onto the context. So that in your region page template, we're not exporting any page query here at all. And I think what I wrote in the GitHub.
We have a comment here from the Twitch.
Ooh, the Twitch, I'm just replying to that.
We've never
one.
streamed on Twitch, so this is going to be fun. There's going to be some disconnect in the chat.
I can read it.
Yeah.
Hey, I tried to contribute, but I had to read and learn about React first. Was a little bit lost. If there's a Discord to pair programming or code in a group, let us know. Oh, somebody answered. Look at this.
You got a good community here.
Yeah, it's a bunch of fun. So, Fedecha, it's really cool to see you want to get involved. We do this stream every Thursday, the Open Source Thursdays one, but we also have started doing code jams most Tuesdays. Sorry, my internet might be slow. Let me know if I break up or anything. Anyways, those code jams on Tuesdays, that's your best bet to pair up. I'll be at those. I think we're skipping next week because we have a big important aid meeting with a bunch of big important aid people. But the Tuesday after that, and again, we'll have plenty more events coming up with Hacktober, right? But Tuesdays, there's code jams. If you need some help getting, set up to make your first contribution, that is definitely the best spot to do it at. Yeah, shout out Noel. What up?
Yeah. The
So-
Tuesday code jams are great fun. Come on. Next week then.
Next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, here it is. Next week.
next week. So so back to the code. What you lose, as they're trying to explain here a little bit, is that like you might see some build performance by pushing it all through the create pages API, if you have a small set of pages, I guess, but you will like lose all hot reload and incremental builds if you push all the data through in the create pages API instead of calling for it in the page query. So that's why we want to refactor, and also just because it's kind of the best practice of Gatsby. So I'm thinking new people who's coming to the project will kind of be like, but where's my query? There should be
well,
like,
that's
it's
the thing
not here.
We didn't know, right? I didn't realize you could do page queries in templates. I thought that was just if you had a page, and otherwise you had to go through Gatsby Node. So definitely want to show the new people the best practices. I'm also excited to personally learn the best practices.
So I'm thinking like the only thing we really need here to create the page is that we need that region slug, because we're still using templates and we're creating the paths ourselves. So we'll need that region slug. But the only thing we really need to give to the page is the ID of the region. And then we'll use that ID to kind of query everything we need for the page. So the only thing we need in this query then is the ID that we don't have, and then the name that we already have. And then I'll just try and copy all of this because we'll need that in our page query. Let's see if that was correct.
So the idea is by passing the ID in the page context, then we can go straight to that node in the page query and grab all the extra stuff that we need.
Yes, exactly. So we'll have the name still on our region, and then the only thing we want to pass in here then is the ID and then the region ID. And I believe that now Gatsby knows if you use kind of the key to be ID, then now Gatsby, and this is a Gatsby node ID that we're passing in, Gatsby now knows that this page is connected to this region. So whenever data for this region changes, the page needs to change. But we don't have to like send in all the data here, but we'll just be like, they're now connected. Like the page is connected to the region through this ID. And then my favorite part of Gatsby, I like to go to our graphical explorer and like pretend, and like, you see, I did something before the stream to test out my theories. So this is kind of what we copy pasted, right? This is all the data that you were asking for, but now we want to query for one region. And I love that I know it stands probably for distributed aid, but like I read it as the region. It's the region. So this is the way to kind of grab the page query. And I've done like some fancy things. So let's remove that so that you'll see more how this usually is. Like you'll usually see this in your when you start out. If you're just like clicking through this, you do like a region and then you say what you want to have for your region. You click all of this. This is kind of what it looks like. And something that a lot of people are like, wow, because they didn't know, it's like there's a code exporter here. So you can just copy this whole thing and start. But it won't work because we're not actually doing any like matching. This will just grab whatever first region comes up. So we need that ID. So I've done that a lot of times. I copy paste this and I'm like, why isn't it working? Because they should make this a little bit better, but they haven't. So what you want to do then is you want to go to the region and then do ID and say equals, and then you press this little $sign, you make a variable, and now you kind of have something that you can copy paste. So we'll just copy paste all of that over to our template. So whatever is the default, I guess here, whatever is the default export is your page template. And then whatever is exported as query, when you have a named export query, that's the query for the page. And then also now we've done that on 2 streams ago, I think. Like now you can also export a head a named export head, and that will be added to the head of the page. So
I saw
doing
that. That was replacing React Helmet with Gatsby's new head API, right?
Yes, exactly. So you might want to like look into that in a separate issue
Yeah.
as well. But so we'll save this, and it still probably won't work because this isn't completely correct. I think you need to do like string,
Isn't it
just
so?
like
Yeah, yeah.
and then this needs to be the same. The variable needs to be the variable name of your page context. So then now that's
Mhm.
ID. So it's grabbing that from the page context, whatever
Mhm.
is coming in through the page context, and then we're matching it and finding the correct ID. So if we try this now, there will be nothing because there is no ID. But if we do, let's just grab all just to make sure that we have it correctly. We do all the regions. I'm having so much fun with that. And then ID. And we could grab like this region ID, for
Nice.
instance. And then
And
we
that's the
put
ID
that.
generated by Gatsby, right? That's not
Yeah.
it's not coming from our content management system or anything. So
It is not. So it's often based on that. So I haven't looked into how that is, because you're sourcing with like forestry's own kind of source plugin, or
yeah,
are you sourcing yourself?
I think it's through Markdown. So I think Forestry
Oh,
commits everything to our GitHub, right? It's a Git-based CMS, and
yeah.
then we just put the point the Markdown Gatsby plugin to the content folder that Forestry writes everything to, and Forestry
Mhm.
saves it using Markdown's like kind of header.
Yeah.
What's that called? Yeah,
As front matter.
yeah, front
Yeah.
matter. That's
Yeah.
the right word.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
then this ID is generated by the Markdown or the Markdown transformer, and it's probably based on like the file ID or something like that. But if
Mhm.
you're going to create your own IDs at some point, you use the create node ID helper. And what you need to make sure then is that the ID or the string you pass into the create node ID, that is unique in your world. So whatever you're kind of like, whatever you are, like whatever world you're working in, like regions, you may have
Mhm.
to make sure that whatever you give into the create node ID is unique within regions and within regions in your project.
Right, exactly. Like each region has a unique name, so we could just
Yeah.
put the region name in there because that's not
Yeah.
going to conflict with other regions.
Yeah, if you're making them yourself. And if you're making plugins, then Gatsby is pretty, and that's why you want to use create node IDs, because then if you're making a plugin, Gatsby will make sure that it adds some extra information about the plugin to make it unique across all of your
Mhm.
site, even if you're using the same plugin several times, or if several plugins are like passing in the same ID to create node ID, it makes sure that it's going to be unique because it's like
Mhm.
takes a little
It's like
extra information.
namespace to that plugin or
Yeah.
something.
Yes,
Cool.
something like that. I don't know. I haven't seen their algorithm, but they're doing something smart. So we're sure that no nodes get the same ID, because that would be bad. And then I get a little squiggly on my GraphQL, and that's because we cannot find it. So if we go back to our code exporter, then you need to import to GraphQL
Mhm.
from Gatsby. GraphQL, the variable, the thing, the function. I need to get better at my name, like what are things called. So usually if I start from scratch, I just copy this whole thing, because then you get a stringified version of the data, and then you can start building out your component or your template inside of there. But
Mhm.
now we're refactoring. We obviously we don't want to lose the work that you've done here. Like so, and then we should probably try to build this. But let's not, because I'm seeing here we're still grabbing it from the page context. So
Right. It looks like we might need to change the type of properties that are being passed in.
so this, because we're even working in TypeScript. Ooh, we're fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. People have been asking though for like more TypeScript stuff. So if we go back to our thing here, it says, what's getting passed into our page template is, the props, and then we can destructure it and get the data. So instead of destructuring it and getting the page context, we're getting data from the query that is below in this file,
Mhm.
and not data. And then I guess we need to rename up here. Okay. Okay, so let's see if that builds.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Oh, it's already running. So, but since we've been like messing around with important stuff, we need to. I'm gonna do it clear just to be sure.
Yeah. Oh, we have it set up to yarn clean.
Yeah,
Should
that's
yeah.
yarn dev. I was working on something that still used npm. I usually use yarn, so like now I was adding that run command
Mhm.
in between there.
Yeah.
But this is gonna take a while. So, Ola, you
Yeah.
have any
So
questions for Taylor?
you're over there in Belgrade now. Is that where you're
Yep.
doing the meeting with the fancy aid people, or is that somewhere else?
It is online, so they're bringing
Oh,
together a number of like very large organizations like
yeah.
Save the Children, maybe like the American Red Cross, and then us and some of our very small grassroots friends looking at how we can predict disasters and kind of set up the aid networks and pre-position aid to be ready before a crisis happens. How can we get ahead of the crisis instead of always reacting to crisis?
So how can you do that?
Well, from a supply chain perspective, we can look at, and we do this a lot, like, especially for ongoing stuff, like we can project needs, right? So we try to say, hey, what do we need in the winter time? Let's go collect it during the summer. It's a lot easier to ask people for their secondhand coats or ask companies for their out of season items during the summer, and then we just have to hold on to it for a while until it's ready and then ship it when it's needed. Things like that. I think it's also the networking. We're able to react really quickly. Like when the Moria refugee campfire happened, we were working with partners in Greece. People are sending money and buying stuff on the island day one. We helped coordinate transfers from other groups in Greece that arrived day 3. Our first trucks of aid arrived day 7, and the second wave of trucks arrived day 14. It took 14 days for the Greek government to even begin their response, right?
Yeah.
And this, the scale of that is like 15,000 people living on the side of a highway for a week. So having those relationships in place, having the network and the infrastructure is crucial. Where we don't have those, then the people on the ground get too overwhelmed trying to manage the response, and it's harder for them to ask for help because they don't know what's needed to receive these large trucks and containers. They don't know who's a trustworthy partner. Like if people make offers, like sometimes they're not serious. Sometimes it falls apart. And so I think it's all about connecting these communities before there's a disaster. And that's what I love to say is like sending aid abroad builds resiliency at home. The fact that you're helping other people, sure, that's awesome, but you're also building your local community, you're connecting to people who can help you, and you're building the infrastructure and the operational capacity, because the same sort of things that you do to help folks internationally, you can turn around on a dime and help your own community if there were a disaster there.
Yeah.
I like that approach.
Yes.
That thinking.
Yeah.
So we hit an error.
Good.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bam, bam, bam. Anyone have any suggestions? So it's saying that region name does not exist.
Okay.
And we're destructuring region from data.
But let's look in graphical then.
Let's look in graphical. Yeah. So here we have the region name.
Oh, but you're not inside the region. You're inside region.
Yeah.
Is that why?
Probably.
Yeah, is that like a named query or something like that?
Yeah, so I think we are asking, so here we're destructuring, sorry, I'm like all over, I'm destructuring region from data, but the data does not have a region, it has the region.
I gotcha.
So I guess either we refactor, like right click here and just do
Can't
rename.
you do it all the way up there because you're saying that Yeah, there.
Yeah.
I should do there.
So these two need to match. So we'll have to like do it in both places. So that is a way we could do it. We could do the region. Oh, now sometimes when I'm streaming, my code doesn't want to do hard things. Yeah,
No,
so that
no,
should then work.
No, that's not region. That's region. Right. It's...
This is what happens when I start drinking the grog before the stream. Okay. Okay, so rename symbol.
Third time's the charm, right?
Yeah,
Region, and we want it to be like this.
Yes. Yes.
But that like it's still not called region, so then we'll need to remove that and rename up here. So let's see if that works.
Well, what's nice about this, like you said, there we go. We didn't have to rebuild the server because we were making this change using the page context, and we ran into a simple error like we didn't quite name it right when we were destructuring it. Then you'd have to stop and restart the server, and you probably get distracted. And 10 minutes later, after you close the Reddit tab or whatever, and come back to it, and here is like just hey, rename, refresh, good to go.
Because now we have hot reloading.
No.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
But I was just gonna, because something I started doing recently that I thought of now is that like if we remove our renaming, so let's see, we're doing refactoring and we don't want to like do a lot of code changes.
And that's a good call because there are people that have been working on styling those pages that are changing the same file. So minimizing the potential merge conflicts would be really helpful for me.
Yeah. So I think in graphical, we can rename. So if we do region and then the region, like then it takes whatever was in the region and puts it in region.
But now it's all the region. And
I think this is correct. It's correct.
No.
It is correct. Did I spell it wrong? I cannot.
Yes.
I might have been spelling region wrong for years. Like it might just be me from the very start.
No,
it's me.
It was right, and then it all turned back to region again.
No, this is now I'm copy pasting what's up here. So
yeah, but that's region.
Yeah, but I had it. This is how it was spelled. This is not like.
No,
let's
it wasn't. No.
Yes, it is. Look at this page context data. I have not changed his name. So if we're just not gonna, if this is wrong, isn't region spelled like that?
No.
How do you spell it? How do you spell
it? You change it. It's.
No, I didn't change it. This is because we can
look. Is it spelled like that? Maybe I'm wrong now. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we're just because look at that.
Are we taking bets, ladies and gentlemen in the audience? If you place your bets in the chat here.
I was wrong.
I haven't changed it.
Sorry.
Well, the queen is always right, even when she spells incorrectly. But this time I didn't. So anyway, let's go back to our file. And so now it's called region down here. And it should be renamed from the region to region. We could also check it out and do that in graphical, because I always like to just work in graphical because then it's just easier to do these kinds of validations. If we do that, then it's actually called region over here. So then that should work. So let's and it's working. Look at that. And what's great about that, as you said, if several people are working on this now, the only changes we've made to this file is the page context. It's now called data instead of page context. But other than that, we didn't, so it's changed this line. But we haven't changed any of the styling. So if we're kind of working in a little bit, if somebody's working more kind of traditional front end with React, they don't have to like update their code just because we've been changing up the kind of back end of the front end or whatever we want to call it, because it's not really.
I call it the
back end,
build
but-
side, like the Gatsby build side.
Yeah.
You know, there's Gatsby node functions or the page queries, and then there's the front end with the React and kind of the styling and stuff.
Yeah. So that's good, because then we can do a much smaller. I guess I should do a branch anyway. Hit checkout, and I cannot see now. The spelling is I cannot spell checkout. Checkout branch. Do you have any like naming conventions for branches?
We usually do like feat or feature / the issue number if there is one / a brief description of the branch. So in this case, I think we didn't make an issue for it.
No.
You could either do the discussion number if you wanted to like tie it to that discussion you started, or just do feature / whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So you don't do like refactor when that's a refactor. We do it as a feature.
No. This would be a refactor. You're right.
Okay. Refactor and then / and we'll do the 5.
Yeah.
Like that, and then page query. Here we go.
Awesome.
So refactor. Refactor. I can spell. Refactor. Region. Pages from region context. How we should write it as what we should be doing, right? Move from region context to page context to page query for region template. Look at me being very descriptive.
There we go.
And we have the refactor word there, so let's just do from page. There we go. Okay, so we've done one page. Do we want to do another one? We still have some time.
We got time. We got the subregions and the routes.
Yes. I mean, this was
I
a
should
fun
also
one.
ask you at some point before we push this up, Raae, if you could put your name in our contributors.md file. That does two things. It means that you agree to our code of conduct, and it does assign the copyright from your code to Distribute Aid. We use a very aggressive open source license. And
I'll have to read this then.
Yeah.
Welcome an inclusive language, respectful of different viewpoints and experiences, graceful, accepting constructive criticism.
Don't do it out loud.
How graceful.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
We're kind of like real life pirates. Like I feel like I'm plundering these corporate in-kind donors for anything that they can't sell to get to like the people in need. So whatever grace that affords us.
So how do I do this then? Do I go?
You just add your name. Yep, just in the markdown. Thank you.
Does it need to be my legal name since this is a binding contract?
I don't really care, honestly. As long as if I can show a commit with your like, hey, this GitHub user made this commit and put whatever something there, then that's good enough for me. Yeah. We're grassroots, like
because the people out there might not realize this, but my given name wasn't Queen.
Well, Queen's your title, right?
Yes, it's my title. That's true. But I just like to, just put that out there. So that would be a chore, I guess.
Yeah.
Add that Raae to as contributor. As contributor.
Amazing.
Okay, let's do
now,
another one.
Unfortunately for Lillian, the contributor agreement also says I get to change the name of your first child. So
we should have read this, but I'm not pushing this up until I've read the contributor agreement. No, but I love that you kind of think of yourself as pirates in that regard, because Ola has read a lot about like the original pirates.
It's actually very interesting if you just read. I haven't read much either, but if you just read a little about them, in each period they are part of the big political game.
Mm-hmm.
And then the easiest example is that Queen Elizabeth I of England, she gave when instead of creating, just like you guys do, instead of like creating a national system, or like you said, they used 14 days to get started, and she
Mm-hmm.
knew that too. If she was going to create a navy, it would be expensive and slow, and also politically it's dangerous. So she just made a piece of paper and she said, "You working for me now," to the pirates. And then they basically had some rules, don't attack British ships, only
But you can go after the French, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
and that was super successful. And but also in other periods they have also been very political, and for example, they also like the Jack Sparrow kind of period. They
Mhm.
were freeing slaves. They were going
Yeah.
after slave ships, and they were freeing slaves and basically hiring them,
Mhm.
but also just like freeing them up, and that made them, for many people, the good guys, whereas their
Yeah.
opponents were actually they were real bad dudes. So it's yeah, it's a long it's interesting. It's interesting reading.
I
Yeah.
feel that. Well, if you like pirates so much, you'll be pleased to hear that we narrowly avoided a smuggling charge on our latest container to Lebanon. Of course, we do everything legally and do our
Yeah.
best to clear stuff properly. But we're also working with grassroots groups, right? So
Yeah.
how many T-shirts are on the container? We can give you a fairly accurate guesstimate. Sometimes it's a
Yeah.
little bit higher, sometimes it's a little bit lower. Lebanon, decided that this one of the dozen or so we've sent over the past year happened to be the unlucky one. Fortunately, we could prove it was a documentation issue. We weren't actually trying to smuggle secondhand shoes and clothing into Lebanon, but it was real dicey there for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So far, I went into Gatsby Node, I clicked the create subregions page, and then I removed the query for everything but the ID and the name, like we did earlier. Oh, but here I can see it needs more. It needs the sub-region name as well, and then the
Yeah.
sub-region. Okay, so
And
region.
we have another comment here. It's everybody looking dapper.
What up? What up? Thanks for joining us, Axel.
I love it how he has an emoji which is a real head. Is that
Yeah.
some Twitch thing?
I think that's a Twitch thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how all the emojis work, but you can do some wild stuff there.
Yeah, I think yeah, and then at least when I was watching our Norwegian friends Twitch, you could like pay and you got more emojis.
Oh.
Twitch, we're a charity. Give us emojis for free.
Yeah.
No, but I think
yeah.
but you pay you. So you distributed aid could make their own emoji set, and then only people who pay unlock those emojis.
Ray, I think you've solved our entire fundraising problem. Custom emojis. Emojis move aid.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so we have subregion region name, which we should have now, and then then
yeah.
Also, I'm just gonna just chat amongst yourself. I'm doing some housekeeping here. Or maybe I should complete this while we were on the thread. So and then path, and then we do the subregion page. So then I went into the subregion page, and this is where we need then our query.
Mm-hmm.
And
so just like last time, you're exporting query, and Gatsby will pick that up as kind of a hook or something like that, run the page query, and then dump that data into the page. Perfect.
Exactly. So every time, and you're only allowed to do export const query, like a named export like this. It will only work on page templates, or if you use the file system route API and kind of create pages under the pages folder, you can use kind of variables in these names instead of using templates and the create pages API. So I think you have an issue for that as well. So we're not going to do that now, but that's the only place that will work. And also if you try, and this I do all the time, if you try to export something else that is named from a page or a page template, Gatsby will yell at you. Because I was like, oh, I want to share this with pages. And then I tried to import it from a page and they were like, you're not allowed to export any other name things. So I was like, ugh, okay. So I
like it when my code yells at me instead of like failing silently.
I'll make a utils folder now because that is very descriptive. Anyway, let's get the graphical in there.
Nice.
And then we remember from last time we need to change. We're not destructuring the page context from our props. We are destructuring the data. So the subregion, let's keep it a subregion, but do our fancy
named kind of query thing.
Yeah, we name the query result or something subregion. So this then should work. But I also see like my OCD, like we have reused the name from the region page. I'm just going to rename that to sub-region. And you write it with a little.
Yeah, lowercase.
Yeah. No. So that's a tip to people who are like getting into a project. Like, I might feel like it should be sub and then capital red letter R for the naming. But what I did was I looked at the file name here and I saw like, oh, they haven't done that. So maybe there's a standard here that we call it subregion with little r. And instead of trying to then impose I want a big R and like mess everybody up, I try to like, look at a project and see like, have they made some decision? Let's try to follow those decisions. Right?
Follow those conventions.
Yeah. And that's the same thing with like actually using Gatsby kind of in the way that it's intended. I don't think that has been the case for you, but I've seen like some people are like, oh, I don't like how they do it. And then they kind of make their own way of solving it instead of doing it the way that Gatsby wants or any framework really. And then down the road, that's going to, bite you in the...
It makes it harder, yeah. Like when the next version gets released and you try to upgrade and suddenly none of your stuff's in sync, or there's a plugin that expects it to work the Gatsby way. I mean, I think break the rules. I'm all about breaking the rules, but do it intentionally for a reason. Don't do it just because, it could be subregion. It could be subregion with the capital R, right?
I think so too. And also like you remember that you're working with other people and it makes their life a little bit harder. So we still call them regions, but then it's region slug and subregion slug. So let's see if we can find one of them to just copy paste up here. We might have to, we had to rebuild because we've been messing with our Gatsby node. So let's do that, and I'll do some housekeeping, and you can talk about some more piratey stuff.
Yeah. So apropos that, I asked you if you had a website you wanted to plug.
Yeah. If y'all want to check out our website, what we're working on right here is distributeaid.org, and that is our donate page. Y'all, we are super efficient and effective. If you want to contribute to the Distribute Aid, there's so many ways. You can contribute code. One of the ways is donating money to us. And guess what? As pirates, we're good at, investing some money into our ships and things like that and getting more money out of it to the people. We're actually so good at that every dollar we receive as a donation, every €1, because that's how the same thing. Every euro we get, we turn into 87 euros of aid for people who need it. So definitely, please contribute however you can. It doesn't matter. We're all in this together, but we want to keep growing. We want to keep helping more community groups because the problems are just getting bigger and bigger, my friends. Before it was refugees in Europe, now it's war in Europe. Climate change is coming up. We're seeing, different things around that. And I don't know about you. I'm as a pirate, not a big fan of all the government stuff. I don't believe any president or queen or king is going to save me, but I believe in my community, right?
No, just
Okay, maybe Queen Raae. If you start,
Yeah.
if you ever need an army of 20-something grassroots volunteers, right? You let me know.
I have a summer house on an island, so if like shit
Mhm.
really hits the fan, we'll just convene there
Yeah.
and start.
And how
our
many
own
refugees
country.
can stay there? Because I can make some phone calls.
Like right now, it's a natural like. I think like most of the island is like a habitat for birds or something. But I mean, if like
Mhm.
shit really hits the fan, that we could build houses on there.
Yeah. That's cool. I can bring, like a container of soap or clothing or sleeping bags or something.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, let's see if we can find one of these regions. Do you know every sub-region in France?
Yeah, for France, if you click below the map there, then we list out our sub-region, like so northern France, the kind
There.
of Dunkirk, Calais.
Okay.
Yep.
Working.
Yeah.
Working. Yeah.
Working.
And if y'all don't like how ugly this looks, we have issues open for it. Go make the change yourself. And thankfully, I think we do have some great people, including Noel, who are working on this. There are also other issues. We're going to get into some really cool stuff coming up, so keep an eye on that issues page.
And by that, you mean distributedaidhere.org.
Distributed.org, yeah. No, we've been working for months to kind of pull together all of the data that we use behind the scenes every day. I mean, we have a year and a half of needs assessment data tracking 74 million needed items. We're about to link that up as I got to write a custom plugin or something for Gatsby to like source that data from our other API. That'll get in there. We also have 3 years worth of shipping data. We're almost to 100 shipments made. And we're going to be dumping that through JSON to our Gatsby site. And so lots of fun stuff, lots of fun issues coming up, visualizing that data, doing predictions with that data. And it's cool because it's all public. Like, we're not a company. I was like, we can just, here's the data, go do cool, useful things. Like, show the world, figure out what's going to be needed next. Like, we can kind of crowdsource that, right?
Okay, so now for the routes, it's going to be a little bit harder, or not harder, but you'll, as kind of the boss of this, will have to make some choices, because what I've seen is that, as you said, forestry writes markdown pages, and then you read the markdown pages with the Gatsby source markdown or file system, and then you transform them with Gatsby transform markdown. And then I've seen, because I did some comments on that as well, like here on create node, you create regions from markdown. So you say kind of instead of kind of all markdowns being equal, you're saying, okay, let's take this markdown file and let's create a region node from it. So here you create a node. And here I see you created, node ID, you call it a DA region, and with a name, which is like this is super namespaced. And that's why we have been able, when you create pages, the region page, we've kind of just called for regions or all the regions. But if we go down to our routes, you are actually then calling for kind of all files.
Right, this is some older code right here using it looks like the file API or something like that.
Yeah. So you could use the file, or you could ask for all markdown or all file, but since you're trying to kind of filter it on the pages / routes, that's why it's probably gone to the file system, because then it's easier to filter on the file system kind of path. So I'm thinking either, so if creating your own custom nodes is kind of the path forward, then maybe we should do that now instead of kind of transferring this solution further. We're saying that's like that's the way
I think that would be the right thing. Yeah, we want to expose like nice, tidy kind of data objects through Gatsby's GraphQL API. What I noticed is, because we're sourcing all of this stuff from Markdown, you end up with like if you go look at the Markdown in the GraphQL Explorer, it lists all of the header fields from all of the different Markdown files together. Like, wait a minute, like half of this header fields are for regions or subregions, some of them are for routes. And so we're just trying to clean that up and make it less confusing, especially for new contributors. I'm not trying to grab random stuff from the markdown. I'm trying to grab a region or a subregion.
So I've actually landed on the same solution that you have for when I was like testing this out for my just personal site. And it works pretty well. I think it will work really well for you because everything is in the front matter. There will be a problem with, for instance, the HTML, because the HTML is a custom resolver, I think, or it's not kind of created on create node, so there's nothing to grab when you create the region. So like if you're actually are using kind of the content part of the markdown file, like it will make it a little bit more complex. But I think for kind of your use case, when so many people are working on this, like if some people with a little bit kind of more knowledge can like prep these nodes properly, then it's going to be easier for the people in the
That's exactly it. We recommend people start off on the front end side, make a React component, kind of get used to things. And then if you want to learn about the Gatsby build side, the back end of the front end, as you say, cool. Then you can kind of, work on that. And we try to do a lot using like code seed maps and, linking to previous pull requests that do similar things to point people in the right direction, right? You don't need to be an expert to get started. It's really like, hey, I want to try this out. I want to learn a bit along the way. Cool. Let me go see what other people have done. Let me see like what other relevant parts of the code base. But I think you're absolutely right. It's time to make routes into the routes and then use that on the pages. Yeah.
So then I'm not sure if we're going to be able to finish this. I don't know how much time you are, but now I'm into it. So we want to create routes from Markdown, and then I guess it's pages and then routes.
Yep.
What is it doing? Not index on the.
So the not index, it's because we put regions and subregions in the same folder structure, and we put index to indicate this is their. Yeah. So I think for routes, you can just do like star.md because each of the routes are separate. There's no like sub routes or anything. So pages /routes/star.md should be fine.
The star.md or index if you go to.
You can look at content. Yep, content.
So we need all of them because it's UK to France and UK to Lebanon, so we need there.
Yep.
And then it's going to be pages, routes. Is this big enough?
Yeah. I can see it fine. Hey, if you're in the chat, you're having trouble seeing the font size there, just let us know. We'll bump it up. No problem.
You got the streaming thing down.
Yeah, it's all Ramon. I'm just repeating what he says every time. He's really good at this.
I should watch Ramona's. I don't think I've catched his stream, but when we were chatting before this show, we just realized that we were at the same conference in 2019. And by we, I mean Lillian, Ulla, Taylor, and and Ramon.
And we had Sarah there. Our director was at that one too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're getting the front matter, which we're calling FM. And then the file relative path. So now for our routes, what do we have? Let's do a little bit of a split screen here. Because what we want to do now is like kind of push whatever, because I think what you're pushing to the page is whatever is on the front matter. Yes. So you're kind of just pushing all of that to the front matter.
And I'm not sure what that relative directory is for. At the very bottom of the route pages query. Like, I'm not sure if that's needed as much.
Yeah. I think it might be if you're going to be grabbing images and stuff, like it could be needed. But let's start with what we know we need. So now I'm going to create a node that looks like this. So is there a reason you haven't just spread the whole front matter and instead of naming, like renaming things?
So we thought because with the front matter, it would include all of those fields, right, across all the different types. So it would take all the regions fields and the routes fields and other front matter fields. Now, if it doesn't do that, I might be wrong. Like, I don't know. There we go. Can we bump it up?
Yeah.
Thank
I bumped
you.
it up once. I hope that.
The code.
Good shout,
I
Noel. Appreciate that.
I don't think it will, because if we head on over here, let's like do
It would just take it for that specific front matter that we selected, right? It'd be like that region file or that route file, and it would
or
only
maybe
have
no,
those
maybe it
fields on
would.
the spread.
It might take everything, yeah, and then make it. No, it would make.
It'd make
'cause
it
I'm
null
just-
if it doesn't exist. And would Gatsby
Yeah,
then
so-
keep it as null, or?
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right that is. So we want to kind of just grab the things we do want on this. So
Yeah.
here we're not going to do page path because we're going to make those in another way, I think. Or are they're not specified?
I think
already?
that one is specified. I think page path is specified for the routes. Yeah.
Let's go and have a look at the routes. Yeah, but it's the same thing as the name. So we could try to fix that with this so we don't need that. Okay. Now we're like off the planned part. Yeah, so we want the route origin. So that would be the front matter, and then the route destination. This is going to be a lot of copy pasting. Prepping data and the introduction. Oh, and then the map URL, FM, map URL. And then I'm thinking maybe, aid. I'm not going to try and spell that. I'm thinking for the images, we could probably just do the images. Or do you know if they are very different?
He fell out.
No, his internet is probably his mobile internet went out. Well, let's try.
I'll try to catch him when he comes back. Oh, he Noel with one L says much better. Many thanks.
Great.
And that was another one of those cool emojis from the Twitch.
So what if there are no images? Let's do a little bit of a conditional there so that in case there is no.
Taylor
sank with the ship.
Oh, no!
Somebody got his ship. He should be able to just jump back in if he gets the battery backup or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Images. Group sections. I think he's coming back. Do you let him back on, Ola?
Yeah. He's back.
Hey, sorry. I was really smart and I decided to plug my phone in because I was tethering from my phone, and then I did not change halfway through to plug my computer back in, and the laptop died. My returns, I fell overboard, you know.
Yep.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or sank, like they talked about sinking. I'm just copy pasting everything, and then we can have a discussion on the kind of on the PR, like how much we want, because images, maybe we just want to spread the images, but if it's used in like several pages, then maybe we don't, But I'm guessing cost is not used anywhere else.
Yeah, I think for a lot of that, we could spread it, honestly. What I've been trying to do is trying to make things modular. So using, what's it called? It's in the Gatsby folder. It's like when you link up different nodes in Gatsby. And so I'm trying to be good about like, hey, like here's an image node, and then creating those links intentionally rather than dumping all of the images. Yeah, but we'll see on the PR. And
then we'll just keep this relative directory, file relative path, and then map file relative path. I'm not sure. Is there a map on this page? No.
There's not a map on this page. No. That's
I'm guessing that's what this is. That what this is? The MF for region, probably. And then the file relative path. Just let's keep that because it might come in useful. And then we have the Gatsby field. So this will be a route.
The route.
The route. And the parent will be the markdown file. And then we need to call it a da route.
And we probably want to change front matter.name there to like maybe the path URL at the top or something. I'm not sure routes have an explicit name. What was
We're not keep well, we can keep it, but let's grab it from the file name instead of grabbing it from
okay.
Yeah.
The page path. Yeah. So you want to get the page path instead of an explicit field from forestry, get it from the file name.
Yeah. So if we do, because then you can use that as the slug instead of kind of having to write that twice. Because I'm guessing that would be,
that makes sense.
UK to France, UK to Lebanon, and then you have to go in and you write UK to Lebanon again, and then you change the name here, and then it doesn't change there, right? So I've done this before, so let me have a think. I think because when we create the node, we'll need to grab the parent node because that's the file, and then we can get the file name from there. Because I don't think we get the file name directly on the markdown node. But let's have a little bit of a look. So if we do just our front matter and then name. Yeah, because this is what you're saying, right? Because when it's sourcing, it's transforming all the markdown. It's taking all the markdown, and then kind of making a front matter that can include anything that could ever be in a front matter, which I realize it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So if we go to parent, and then we could get the file name from there. Let me see if I haven't done this in some. It's always good to be able to copy paste some code. So let me see if I don't have that somewhere. Because I know what we need to do. We need to grab the and let me get this off screen in case I'm like opening it on my secrets or something like that, because I've done that before. I showed my credit card on screen, so that was that was a joy.
If you want to show me your credit card, I can plug it into our donation form for you. We are pirates after all.
Oh, that would be a lot of. So
it's really interesting, Ola. In Lebanon, the government, when the financial crisis hit 3 years ago, they froze everyone's individual bank accounts. So there's all these people in Lebanon that have been saving for years and years, and they can't go to the bank and get their money, right? So what's been happening over the past 6 months or so is a bunch of bank robberies. But people aren't robbing the bank to steal money from the bank. They're robbing the bank to get their money that's been frozen in the bank back. And it's really hard to get upset with them. I'm kind of well, it's your money.
And then I think the file node has some sort of relative path on it. So
as an absolute path, and then relative.
I think
relative
it's
path.
The relative path. Let's see if we can. Oh, we still have a lot of stuff in here. Ooh. I'm doing all the things now, not explaining, but I'll try and pages, regions, git keep. We're not gonna, but AIDS hubs. This looks like something we want. Maybe just a name. Maybe not the relative name. Maybe we just want the last kind of bit. Yeah, I think this is what we want. In here somewhere, there's
that looks really good, actually.
Yeah. So what I did is that I grabbed, so every markdown node has a parent node, which is a file. So what happens is that Gatsby first sources the file nodes. And then if a file node is of type markdown, it gets transformed into a markdown node. And now we're saying every time a markdown node is created, we want to check if this should be a route node and then make a route node.
Exactly.
So the node that we're kind of getting here is we're actually saying if the node is of markdown and the file absolute path is route, then maybe it actually exists right there on the file absolute path. Anyway, we'll go with this.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, we might not need to get into the parent.
Well, let's have a look now at the markdown. All markdown remark obviously then has a file absolute path, but I don't think it has it doesn't have the file name, and we don't want to we don't want to regex
start doing string interpret. Yeah, exactly.
No, I do not want to do that. So let's do slug. And I usually like to call these slugs because that's what we're going to end up using them for. So then we'll need a name then. And then we can just add a slug to here. Like so.
Yep.
So now we should be making the routes. And when we are then creating our pages, we create the pages from the routes instead of from all file. But I feel like we should run this and then let me close everything because now even I am confused. We run
like
this
double check
and then
in GraphQL for the routes, make sure that shows up properly. Yep.
That is exactly it. It's funny. Like I feel like I don't know. It's like I am the thinking emoji. I'm like, I didn't realize I did that. I was like, I'm like thinking. I think we need to like rerun everything now. Like now our Gatsby is all confused.
Super confused, yeah. Speaking of which, y'all, Yarn Clean is the best. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, "Where's my data?" And that's because because Gatsby like cached a previous version of it, and it wasn't rebuilding those nodes, right? It was trying to save me time, which works most of the time. If you're just kind of changing the data itself, or if you're making front end changes, right, and pulling out different data, you don't need it to rebuild everything. But if you're messing around with the Gatsby build side, highly recommend cleaning that out. So it actually shows up. I spent hours and hours tearing my hair out,
I think it's like if you're working inside of Gatsby node or anything that's referenced from Gatsby node, it's often good to do a Gatsby clean. But if you're having problems kind of after that, you want to go into your transforms here on create node. Because on create node is only called when the file has changed. So for us, for a route to actually be created, it needs to happen a change in the markdown file. Because if there's no change in the markdown file, on create node for the markdown file is never called. And since we haven't done a change to the file, our new routes aren't created because the file doesn't kind of execute over. But what's good with that is that the next time we run, we don't have to create any of our regions, subregions, or routes if the markdown files haven't changed. And then you need to get that chaining correct, I guess, but you want to clean some when you're developing. So let's see if we have some routes here. Doesn't look like it. All the line items, all the region. Oh, we haven't called it, so it's not going to work.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Because we are create subregions, but now we need to do our transformers create routes from Markdown. Utils. There we go. And then we need to clean because our files are not going to be changing. But like interestingly, if we hadn't cleaned, we could have gone in and like changed one route, and that would have shown up as a node. But then the other file wouldn't have shown up as a node.
So Taylor, do you go visiting to these places where you send the aid?
Yeah, definitely. So we definitely like to visit our partners. We visited folks in northern France and in Greece and in the US as well. We don't always get that chance, especially with COVID or with rapidly developing situations like Ukraine. And I think for Lebanon, it's a bit farther away. And we started shipping to Lebanon summer 2021. So there's still COVID and stuff going on. I mean, there still is today, but COVID's over. So, what's cool is because it's all community based, and a supply chain looks like a social network, right? It's like a really cool social network, but instead of destroying democracy, we're physically sending aid. Even if we don't, take a trip out at the very start, we'll get there eventually. In the meantime, we get connected to a whole bunch of wonderful new groups to work with because our partners do, right? So we had a friend in Serbia that was working with one of our partners out here, who then went to Lebanon to set up a free shop and did that for 6 months and met a bunch of great local, Lebanese-led groups, right? And then said, hey, we need some help shipping. We're kind of scaling up to the size that it starts to get interesting for us. And we're like, cool. Who are your friends? We do a lot of this, like, multiple community groups on the sending side to fill the truck or container, send it, and then split it up to multiple community groups on the receiving side, so everyone gets something, and we're kind of collectively making progress. And that's what I love. It's this network of trust. So if we trust someone and they say, hey, we've worked with these people before, they're trustworthy, cool. Then by default, we can trust them as well, right? And if something goes wrong or someone acts unethically, then we deal with that when that happens. But I think it's really important to, trust your network, right? In this space. That makes it harder. We get a lot of requests from, say, like groups on the African continent, like in Uganda or Ethiopia or something, but our network isn't connected to them. They're just kind of outreaching to our email because they heard about us from some news article or some Instagram post. And it's like, cool, I'm sure you're wonderful. Like, we don't have the resources to go out there and meet you and see your operations and make sure they're, financially sustainable and responsible and ethical and all of that. And like, we're not linked by any group in our chain of trust. So it's harder sometimes to expand to other places. But I think over time, as our network grows and grows, we'll eventually be able to ship aid anywhere in the world and know that there's trustworthy local partners there. It's only been 3 years, 3 years, 3 continents. It's enough growth for me.
Yeah. But you like to do the traveling thing. You like that, right?
Oh yeah. I think it's super important. It really, we're a second line support group. We spend all day online and on WhatsApp and Excel, kind of coordinating all of this stuff. And so it's always wonderful to be able to put a face to the name. And I don't have to personally go myself. I really enjoyed working at the Afghan safe haven and Fort Pickett, get back in the field for a few months. But also want to make sure that our team is able to have those opportunities, right? And our volunteers. We have an upcoming Ukraine trip. We probably won't actually go to Ukraine. I'm not sure how I feel about sending volunteers to like an active war zone sort of situation. But we have partners with hubs in Moldova and Romania and Poland, and they're connected to Ukrainian aid orgs who come across the border, pick it up, and take it back to Ukraine. So definitely hoping to meet our Ukrainian partners, as well as our international partners working in countries in Eastern Europe.
Cool. So a little problem here, because like I saw here that we are, creating route UK to Lebanon and route UK to France, but there's only one showing up here. And if people have been looking at my code, I mean, like going back and forth, but then it hit me. The problem is that, we're sending undefined here as part of our create node ID because there is no name. So then it's replacing it, because it's creating one node with the node ID, and then it's creating another node with the same node ID, because this is a deterministic function. So it actually will give you the same node ID every time you give it the same input. So then it kind of replaces it. So I think we'll put the slug in there because that's going to be unique within routes. And hopefully that will solve our issue. But now we need to clean again, and then this is going to take forever. So we need more story time.
Yeah. I wish the yarn would create like a pirate mode where it could be like yarn or something like that.
We've been talking about getting some like elevator music, being like,
Ramon did that. There's something with Twitch where there's a Twitch command. So we do dance parties when our code's building. He'll turn on the elevator music.
Oh,
and we'll
I like
dance
that.
Yeah.
I want that. Yeah, we need to figure out how to do that. Whenever we do anything or anyone mentions super bass, I just be like, boom, 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 boom. So I've been singing that on stream a couple of times. You got that super bass. I feel
like y'all should get some foam pirate swords, and Ula has 1 minute to run upstairs and do a sword battle with you, and then run back down before the code finishes building.
Oh, like the what's it called? The XKCD. What is that called again? That like comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, XKCD. Yeah, the code
X-
compiling sword fighting.
XKCD. So for new people to the developer community, this is like one of those old things that a lot of people have seen at some point.
Yeah.
Where it's somebody shared it on Twitter, so it's probably not going to be that much bigger, but let's see. Oh, everything is slow. My computer is like, what are you doing?
I like how you live life on the edge, opening up someone's random tweet on Twitter while live stream.
Well, somebody has changed it to bioinformatics, so they even ruined it. My reads are aligning, but it's it's not. It's my code is compiling. We need absolutely living on the edge. Here, my code is compiling. Let's just look at it in this little window then, so that doesn't happen again. But yeah, the number one primary excuse for legitimately slacking off, my code's compiling, and they're actually sword fighting over here.
Yeah. Are they?
And
using
Ramon
the
is in the chat.
Oh.
What up? What up?
Our code is compiling, Ramon, so we're slacking off.
Yeah.
Oh, we're good. We're good. So let's refresh everything. Okay, I'm still getting just UK to Lebanon. What is wrong?
UK to Lebanon. Did you do a clean before you?
Did do
okay.
I did do a clean, didn't I?
I think it did.
Oh, but it's not. See, this is why I shouldn't keep coding, because it's not on FM slug.
It's not front matter.
We're creating the slug. Oh, drinking and coding like this is not. Well, then we should have a look at Balmer's Peak. Do you want to see that while we're slacking off?
That's like another classic XKCD. Yep.
I don't have the compiling tunes, Ramon. You need to teach me.
Yeah, Ramon, how do we do the elevator music? That's a Twitch thing? But how?
Oh.
Which melody is it then?
It's a StreamYard thing. Oh.
What? Really?
I'm going to Google this right now.
Here we go. This is Balmer's Peak. Programming skill, blood alcohol concentration. I think I was here like 15 minutes ago, and now we're
background music. Okay, so which one is it then?
It's under brand.
Under brand.
Do you hear the music?
Yes.
You did it, Ola.
Is this the right one though?
Yeah, there are definitely different ones you can do.
This was called feeding the ducks. Do the dance pop.
Feeding the ducks. We learned a new thing about StreamYard. Yeah.
Well, it's one of my things these days to dance more, so this actually came at a pretty good moment.
Okay, I'm stopping it.
Oh, we got two. Look at that. We have 2 rounds.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
2 rounds.
I have a feeling Ula will have a field days with these music and adding music and little clips. Okay.
We need a pirate shanty. Yeah.
So now we have our routes. So all we need is the ID and the slug to create our pages.
Oh.
So we'll do all the route.
All the routes.
And let's go to create pages, and we want to do create route pages, and we're just going to remove all of this. Look at us. But I'm going to cut it so that it's kind of saved. Why is this not? What curly bracket am I missing? Let's add another one and see where we're headed now.
No, I think that's good.
Well, it doesn't want to. Let's do all of it then. Query. And then we need the little end of this.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't want to like fix itself.
I don't know. Sometimes
I
with
don't know.
TypeScript's like, you made a mistake. I'm like, yeah, it's probably fine.
Whenever this happens, I'm like, I remember the time where I was like inlining my things myself. Like
No.
that was not a good time in coding history. So you know what? I'm gonna copy this one and then we'll just to get it consistent and then see if something's up. So we want to call it routes query.
Whoa.
Routes query. And it's gonna be a routes query.
Looks
And
like
then
it's
we're gonna do all. Well, we're gonna do routes then. We're gonna do routes, all the route. And then no, okay, so we forgot. No, we have the node, we need the ID, we need the slug. We're gonna not need that. Okay. Now it at least looks good. I cannot like have an indented code. It just like freaks me out.
Oh,
Okay.
we set up prettier or something like that. So you can also run yarn run pretty up quick or something.
It should do it on save, and it's been doing it on save, but I have noticed on stream before that like at some point my VS Code is just so tired it kind of don't want to like do anything.
It's like, I've been cleaning the bilges for an hour, okay? Come up
to... But what's up? Routes. So let's just call it routes.
Hi there, okay,
routes, beta, and then it's going to be routes. Well, why do we keep renaming? I did the same thing as for subregion just to keep. So then they do, query data subregion. Okay. Routes query. It's going to be routes query, and then we're going to get the data back, and then we've renamed all the route to routes. And then nodes for each route. And then we don't have child that marked on anything. So we're just going to do route slug. So if there's a slug, we're going to create a route at routes. And then
I don't even think we need that if statement anymore, because that made sense like while we were trying to filter for between like routes versus not routes on the markdown, and now it should just give us what the routes are. That's what I like about creating these kind of like these named nodes rather than just using the markdown ones, is that you don't need all of this extra exception code littered throughout your code base. You just be like, give me this thing instead of give me this filtered version of this thing.
So hopefully this works, but I think I just need to quit my whole code to get it to actually format my code. I cannot live with this is not working. So I'm gonna put you on like big, and you can talk some more, and I will just quit VS Code and see if it wanna behave again.
Ramon, is that his name? He made a clip of us.
What is that?
He made a clip when we were dancing with the music and everything. I know who needs to see this, because we have this guy. He works at Gatsby now, Pirate Paul. He used to be here on the stream with us, and he always wanted, like musak, like elevator music. That's what he's like. He kept bringing it up and now he did it without him.
Oh no!
Yeah. So he needs to see the clip. You need to see the clip, Paul. Look up this here. I don't know
how. Oh, right there.
Yeah, I don't know how to copy paste the thing, but yeah.
You copy paste it from the comments or something.
Yeah, I don't know if that.
That works. I'll go in here later and write it up.
I mean, maybe Ramon can share it with us like properly. So just let us know if you need to leave to like Taylor, because now I'm just keeping on coding. So you have to like let us know if it's going to like.
Yeah, I'm chilling. Like.
Yeah, if you want to, you could share the link that I sent you with Ramon, and he can jump in as well if he wants to.
Oh yeah, Ramon, you want to join us, bud?
Send him the link and he can make up his mind. Yeah, these automatic captions. I know that I know that Jason Lengstorff, he has this company. They are actually donating captions to him, and I think they have a
Donating captions.
yeah.
They're paying for the person doing the caption or something.
Yeah, it's a real person, isn't it?
I think
Like
so.
yeah, live captioning, like typing it up. Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, look at it. He says,
Wow. We
give
can
me
close
5
with Ramon.
millions. Give me 5 millions and I'll come say hi.
Spoken like a true pirate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ramon,
I
is
got
that
5
usually,
millions, in the back here. Just like, let me grab some treasure.
So I actually do have 5 millions. They're just in mask form and they're in Germany. So do you want that in truck or shipping container?
Oh boy. I don't know. My computer, like, this is my computer is like.
Look
now,
at this emoji here. Is that a
this might
robot?
not.
I think that's a smiling robot.
Yeah, it's cool.
Whereas Queen Raae has a not smiling robot trying to run her gun.
Yeah.
Absolutely a not smiling robot right here. Okay, let's see again. It seems like my code will not format, but we can see if we can live with that and
Are
just
you
get.
not
Do you want to
showing
try
it?
like yarn run pretty dash quick and see from the command line if it'll just auto format that for you?
Yeah, I'll do that after I've run this and hopefully created some pages.
No.
Because that would be awesome. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Let's see.
Oh,
You're gone.
we're all gone. We were all gone there.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this. We need to come and like hang out on our Tuesday thing.
Yeah, the code jams. It's super fun. It's not a live stream, but it's just chilling, hacking on DA. We had 4 people join last time, which was great because we kind of got some traction in the 100 devs community. It's like a coding bootcamp style, and so was really. I was expecting to have to do more, but they paired up with each other. So we had Noelle, who you saw comment earlier, was like onboarding someone else, and they were pairing up on an issue, and then. A couple other people, got together and were looking through the code base, getting familiar with it, and chose their first issue. And so I'm just chilling, waiting, working on my own code. Someone pops in and asks a question or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it works great. Yeah.
Okay, so now we should have some pages here. Hopefully. Pages, children, components, internal, path. Regions, routes. Yep. Path, route. Okay, we're one step closer. So that is also cool because, all of Gatsby is kind of run on this data layer. So it's not just the data kind of we source, right? It's also all of the site pages, which I checked now, like all site page. And then I'm not sure what all site function is, but and then you could also see any plugin here that is configured for your site. You can query those. So it kind of gives you the view of everything that it builds upon. So it's often nice to get familiar, I feel, with the graphical explorer, because then you can actually see, is there an error with my data, and then fix that instead of trying to kind of fixing your front end, and it's oh, but the data isn't there. That's what's wrong. It's not that.
And it's which step in the pipeline. I love how it's this pipeline of hey, let's read files, and then it's a markdown file. Now it's process it as markdown. Now actually it's a route, so let's turn it into a route, and then we use the routes to drive making the pages. As a supply chain geek, that makes a lot of sense to me. Of the truck starts here and does some stuff, and then goes there and does some more stuff, and then finally.
Well, that's a cool way of seeing it. I like that. Because I think if you're just making a little blog, which is a marketing, a 1-page marketing page or something like that, it can feel like overkill because you're doing all of this kind of groundwork. But when you're getting larger content sites, it does make sense to have that kind of view of the data, and then the site is generated off that data, and you at build time, what that data is. It doesn't go change on you.
Well, exactly.
calling out to live, if you're calling out to live APIs, then things can change.
Yeah.
So now we want to get this query into our routes page. So this is a much bigger page.
Yeah, this is a much older page as well.
Mhm.
You can see that we're not using Tailwind on this one. We have a bunch of custom CSS styles.
That's still good. Like, as long as it's work. I mean, working code is working code.
Yeah, very
it's
true.
doing its job, right?
I think that's we're a grassroots open source project, so we don't have teams of devs that are like, oh, let's go change everything to the latest, whatever we're using. It's like, well, that works. It's it's a little bit dusty, but it's not broken, so we can just leave it as it is.
So now I just copied in something I had before because we want to kind of get all of those front matter things that we had from before into our query. So we have all the same data that is expected. Does it work now? Yes. So page path doesn't exist anymore. Seems like cost doesn't exist anymore. Well, that's bad.
Oh, that's not super great.
And relative directory is not there anywhere. So let's go back to our code then and have a little bit of, because that's what, if we look at this route, because you've been very diligent here with kind of, typing out what you actually expect also. So we want to kind of make sure that we give it as close to this as possible. So it won't be page context, page fields. It will be
it'll be like data route or something like that.
Route instead. And then this will be the slug, but we want to change as little as possible, like we talked about. So let's go back to our transferred node and see why isn't this cost coming in here. I did cost, front matter cost. Does it not want to do I need to destructure it?
Yeah, I'm not
No, the
sure.
deadlines are there.
It's costs.
Oh, with an S.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Thank you, honey.
Hey, well, let's spell some things right. He spells some things wrong. There's a wild card right here.
That's right. That's what pirates are for.
Okay, so we're gonna then do a yarn clean and then run that again while we're working on the rest of our stuff, so that it can make sure that it so we know it's gonna be right when we're kind of done with it. So again, we don't want all the routes. We want to do the route.
The route.
And then, so this is for our page. So we're just going to query the route information. And then we could either use a slug or ID, but usually we want to do ID because if we use the Gatsby node IDs when we hook up pages to nodes, Gatsby knows that they are connected. If you're using other fields to connect them, you will also have to tell Gatsby. And you were working on this, Ola, like where you tell Gatsby what data nodes a page is dependent on. Do you remember what that was called?
No. Sorry.
There's a way. So let's say you create a page, but it also always sources to other nodes or something. You can actually let Gatsby know when you create a page that this page is dependent on more than one node, but default it depends on the node that has the ID set, but you could then potentially also have it depend on more nodes.
Will Ramon disrupt us a lot if he hops on?
No, we are so far.
We're a rowdy pirate crew.
Hop on, hop right on.
Hop right on.
Yeah. And then Ramon, I sent you the StreamYard link on Twitter, so check your Twitter for it. But you have to be ready to be like a pirate, okay? This is a pirate crew. I got my bandana. I got my frog. I've been preparing for this all afternoon.
I love it. I think you're like we've had some who have been like a little bit of pirate, but I feel like you've embraced it.
Yeah.
And I love that. So we then changed this to a exclamation mark, and then we need to import our GraphQL again. Okay, and we are now calling it. Oh, this is such a I'm like scrolling back up and up and up and down. So to be consistent with the other ones, we want to call this route instead
Mhm.
of a route. And then we'll go all the way up and do our TypeScript. So it will be it will coming in as data, and then there will be a route on the data. And then it's
Mhm.
page pad, it's going to be slug. I don't know if that's used anywhere though. Let's just copy.
I do not know.
And then this is all good. Let's go down to our page. This will be data. Woo! Hello!
I be on shore leave. I'm sorry, I couldn't find a better hat.
Wow, that's great.
Good, yeah.
I feel like you're, in the theme, you're a desperado, right? Like we say.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Taylor?
Oh no!
Oh yeah, we lost him. I think he had some issues with the
internet.
the power earlier. But
Oh.
I love your mic. It sounds. What mic do you have? You sound super pro.
Who,
Yeah,
me?
you yeah.
Thank you. I have it's called a Rode NT USB.
Oh yeah. See, I've seen that. I've seen that. I need one of those because mine is not directional. So whenever I try to do something with the family actually in the house down here, you hear them as much as you hear me. But
Yeah.
so let's do something crazy since it's called page fields in all of this page. Let's just keep the name and just rename. So let's keep the name there. So it's actually page fields, and then it's actually a route, but we'll rename it to page field so we don't have to rename it in all of this design in case somebody is working on that right now. So instead of calling it a route, we'll
I can
call
tell
it
you,
page
no
fields.
one is working on that page right now. So if you do
Yeah.
want to rename it, that's fine.
Well, like the true reason is I think my VS Code will crash if I try renaming anything.
That's okay.
Okay, let's see if any of this works now. So UK to France. Okay. We are getting undefined on where route origin. So route origin. I don't think we called it that. We called it route origin. So, but it's on. Oh, so the whole thing is undefined. The page fields is undefined. So we are destructuring page fields from the data, and we've called it page fields there. So if we test in our graphical, like, does that work? We get page fields is null. Where are the routes? All the routes. Whew. Now everything is crashing. See, I should just not code anymore. Let's see. So what have you been up to today, Ramon?
I just gave a talk at a You Got This event. And then at 11:30 p.m., I'm going to be part of a panel at a conference called Octogatos, where we're going to talk about Latin American dev communities.
Cool.
I've been
Ramon,
busy
aren't
today.
you waking up at 7 a.m. every morning to do the coding boot camp? You're sounding like me, buddy. But I work in supply chains. Like, supply chains never sleep. Coders should probably sleep.
The answer is barely.
Barely. But what is that You Got This event?
So they have these seasonal events where they talk about core skills.
Mm-hmm.
And these can be things like about dealing, core skills at work, right? What some people would call soft skills, but I think core skills is a better name for it.
Yeah, definitely.
And and so today, for example, I gave a short presentation about it's titled "Not Knowing is a Part of Learning." So about how it is that we confront new problems in our day-to-day, how to do so safely, how to do so in a way that inspires others to ask questions and stuff like that around tech. We also had like we had Cassidy Williams on talking about, doing note taking as a team. We had a whole, we're actually just, they just killed it this time. Like 6 talks in about an hour and a half. I don't know how they do it.
Wow.
I really resonate with that not knowing is a part of learning, because I did not know that you could write page queries for templates. And I show up on this pirate-themed code stream, and instead of Raae making me walk the plank, I'm actually learning a lot by watching her code.
Yeah,
That's good to hear.
And that's exactly it. You don't know until you set sail, right?
No.
I love you embracing that. Woo! Boom! I have no idea what was wrong.
Ooh.
I have
Love
no
it.
idea what was wrong, but I copy pasted everything again to make sure there was no spelling errors. And my
Yeah.
code is not formatting, but when we get off the stream, I'll save when my machine is working, and then I'll push that up to GitHub when it does
Love
want
it.
to format. But it's working.
Yeah.
So let's
It also
recap
it runs
with-
pretty quick on commits. We got a commit hook, so if you just commit it, it'll run our code formatter.
Oh yeah, that's what you were saying. Sorry, you keep saying it, and then I'm like, I'm not doing that. So let's yarn format. Is it?
You can do yarn run pretty quick, I believe.
Let's have a look at the page JSON. See what kind of.
It's
stuff you
definitely
got
not in
going.
there. If you go look at Husky, I just copied it from our commit hook formatter from Husky.
Okay.
Can we give a shout out
Husky
to?
folder.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, can we give a shout out to copy pasting as a way of life, because
I mean,
it's just so helpful.
so then you might like this trick if you don't know it already, because in the Graphical Explorer you have the code exporter, and then you can just copy.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gives you that
And
whole
you can-
page kind of setup.
You could do static query hook, and then boom, you got it.
And something other than JavaScript? What's up with that?
No, it gives you the I don't know, I can bump it up. It gives you the whole kind of like, if you want to make a page out of this page query, then it like you can copy paste this whole page. Sometimes you need to do a
Right.
little bit of different, like you'll need to do like a string exclamation mark instead here to make it work in the page query. But the ones that usually always work are the static queries. Like
That's
if you
super
are
cool.
just asking for one thing.
But I'm curious. There's a drop down to the left there that says JavaScript. What else is available? Okay.
Nothing.
Fair.
That was a trap. That was a booby trap
That's
right there.
that's a type of trap. No, I think so. This is something I believe that Gatsby has added, because these are Gatsby specific, things. The page query,
Right.
the static query, the static query hook, and then also create pages. You can even then do, you can get that, and it will like
But-
give you code.
But didn't
to how
they
you should
make
do it.
changes here in graphical when some people suggested it? So you could, if you want something else in JavaScript, you could suggest it,
Yeah, but I probably Gatsby won't add that, but I think if you're because the Graphical Explorer is open source, so anybody can use it. So then you
Ah.
can make your own code exporter if you're using it for another tool.
Okay.
I feel like someone's going to add one of those like ridiculous programming languages where you basically only program using white space characters or something like.
Or cats,
It's not-
or
Yeah.
emojis.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Oh, why can't we have a programming, like an emoji-based programming language?
I think there is. I've seen some of it, but
I was gonna say there probably is one. It's not so much about a question of if, but a question of when.
Yeah.
okay. Oh, I didn't commit. Oh, I've sinned.
No, Ramon's really good for this. Ramon absolves me of all my sins when it comes to not splitting up my commands. So Ramon, we could do a git add -p or whatever magic you do.
Oh, yeah,
to
patch
add
commit.
partial yeah.
Yeah, but
Let's do it.
how? Because the thing is, like inside of create pages, I've both done subregion stuff and route
Yep.
stuff.
This
Oh.
is exactly
So we can-
what Ramon's. Yep.
Magic. Okay.
It's not magic. Let's open up a terminal.
You don't
I'm
know how
just
long
going
it
to
took
make
me.
some food for the pirate princess here. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh, we lost Taylor
Wait,
again.
Ola, can I have food too?
I will have to hop off in a minute myself and finish cooking dinner. But
Oh, okay. Okay, let's
Um,
do this.
yeah. So if you've ever done git add with a -p flag, we're
No.
going to be doing what's called a patch commit. And
Mhm.
is it going to be just one file for now? Or,
So
or
I think
several
first
ones?
we should there's going to be 2 files because first we need to
Okay.
commit the subregion stuff we did, and that's inside of create pages and then also the subregions page. But it's the whole subregion page and then a part of the create pages.
Awesome. So let's start with the first file that we're going to patch add.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's going to
if
be
you
the
add a space to
create
that.
page, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a space and then type in create page and, use tab to complete that.
Yeah. I don't think. Do I need to do
It's
the whole path?
Gatsby/create page, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Gatsby, and then create page. Okay, enter.
Perfect. Yep, hit enter. And now you're in what's called patch mode. So Git is going to go through each of the, it's going to go through what they call a hunk. And I love this naming. So they're going to pick a hunk and yeah, that's exactly what I think of, Taylor, every time. So for example, we've got this change here. We've got ID and map and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And if you scroll
So we
all the way
want
down,
all of this. Yeah, we want all of that,
Yeah.
but we do not want the next one, which will be about the routes.
Great. So now
yes?
it's asking you stage this hunk, and you'll say yes.
Yes. Enter.
Yep.
And
And
yes.
this part you do not want. Oh, you do. Okay.
Yeah, I
Keep
want this
going.
part. Yeah. But not this part.
So then you
So
can hit no.
No.
If you do a git status now, check it out.
How have I lived this long?
This I find game changing. So now you can see what if you do a git status there, which you did, you can see what's been staged so far. So you've so here for staging, we've got a modification of create pages, but under not staged, there's still create pages. That's because some parts of it haven't been added for staging yet.
How does
so now we
this
can do
look
the next
visually
one.
now? Oh, and it even works here visually. So now we only see it's only staged those changes. Oh, man. Oh man.
Not bad, right?
Like this is worth the whole stream. And then I can just stage I can do like I usually do. I just stage the whole subregion page.
Exactly.
No. What about Gatsby? No, did we make changes to? No, that was later because we had to add
that was
the one
routes.
line. Yeah, so that's the next thing. Yeah.
And then also
So the rest of that's just
this.
route stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
all
the
routes.
Very
time
sorry.
now. So. Yeah.
Very sorry, folks. I'm gonna have to hop off and go finish cooking dinner. But
I mean,
wish
you
all
just
an
came in
amazing
here
stream.
and blew my mind, Ramon.
Wizard,
And before you go, I have to tell you as well that we just realized that we were all at JS Budapest. If you were there.
Yes, in 2019 or this year.
Yep.
2019 with
course.
Taylor.
Yeah.
But I didn't talk to you until I think RUR.js. But
That's
I was
correct.
at Budapest as well, and Ula was there, and the Pirate Princess was there. So we were all in the same location at the same time, but we didn't talk. Or maybe we did, but we don't remember.
Maybe we sang some karaoke.
Oh, I
Yeah,
did
probably.
sing karaoke. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and I was helping with that. So I do remember that. But yeah, I will let you all continue with your stream. I wish you a happy International Talk Like a Pirate Day. And
Yay!
all the best.
Take care. Enjoy your food, bud.
Take care, everybody. See you later.
No, Taylor is still here. So refactor, and then from page context to page query for subregion.
Yeah, that makes the kind of commit distinct there. Oh.
Yeah. Wow, this was just it didn't work.
Uh-oh, what happened?
I have no idea. We'll do it on the command line instead, so maybe we'll see some.
Okay.
looks like it should work. Like this is staged, and then this is
Yeah.
staged. Maybe it's trying to do that.
I was trying to do the
From did not match any file. Oh, sorry, I forgot to. It's been so long since I committed.
Quotes.
Yeah, but it's been so long since I committed on the command line, so I forgot the quotes. And I
Yeah.
did it wrong. No, looks like it
Oh,
went
that's
through.
good.
Yeah.
Went through. Yep. Great.
So just maybe the visual thing doesn't like these partial things that
Partial
much.
commits, yeah.
Okay, and then we can do refactor. Refactor page context to page query for routes.
Mm-hmm.
For routes, and then I guess we can
And
add
we
a little
also
bit
created the
yeah. To do so, we also we also create route nodes from Markdown.
Yep.
Okay, and then you're saying I should just publish this branch? Or, I mean, oh, it did clean up everything. I like it.
Yep. Yeah, nice little commit hook there. And yeah, I would just push this branch, and you should be able to push it straight to a repo and then just open a pull request. And I can get that merged in right away since we've been hanging out while you wrote the code.
Let's leave it until tomorrow before
Okay,
we
that's
merge
fair.
it in.
Code drunk, edit's over, right?
Let's just I at least why doesn't it want to set upstream? The current branch has no upstream branches. Well, I usually do. Oh, it's denied.
Oh, no. That's a Git pod thing. Try it again. We have to go edit some setting on Git pod. So
yeah, I think you need to give me access to push.
It's not GitHub. It's just this Git pod right here. If you try to run the git push command again, we just have to tell Git pod it's fine for you to push the branch.
Okay.
It'll be like 1 minute.
Okay. So you let me know when I should push.
No, you need to do it in your Git pod.
Okay.
So run the git push.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I'll be like, oh no, and now open access control.
Okay.
And I can't see it anymore, but you should see like the distribute aid with there we go. That GitHub Raae, and on the right hand side the ... edit permissions, and we just need to check public repo. So it gives you Gitpod write access to the public stuff. Cool. GitHub's going to be like, and you can unselect.
Yeah, but I cannot unselect some of these.
Oh, that's annoying.
But I think we should be good because they are not public. So let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Because it's now, let's see, public repositories, authorize Gitpod. Oh, I got to send SMS.
Ramon,
Gitpod's trying to take over all the.
You know what? We are not going to do that. Like, I just sense my secrets being shared now soon if I keep doing this at this stage.
That's fair. That's totally fair. It only I only have distributed on there, really. So, but you do want to get your code off of Gitpod, right? Like I would not.
Yeah.
Or I guess it's saved locally now. I don't know.
No, I think it's only in Gitpod now. So what I'll do is that now that you've given me access, I can just I could probably download this locally or something. I'll figure it out, but not on stream.
Okay. Okay, that's fair.
I just started I have so many things going on in my GitHub. I was like, no, I'm not gonna just blindly click these things because this is not good. But yeah, we got pretty far though. I think let's go back to our Gatsby node and see if on our create pages. Yeah, we've refactored the region, the subregion, and the route page. which means that you
Mhm.
are, when that's merged in, it will be a lot easier to do. I saw somebody had like raised their hand for this one, for this one. So
Yep.
then now that everything is working with the page queries, you can now move these templates in and move them to be file system route API, which means that you
Mhm.
can you add them underneath the pages folder, and then you can use whatever data you have on the node as the
Mhm.
name where you kind of end up with the page. But you couldn't do that with when you're using page context, because when you do this, you don't use the create pages API anymore. So, all of those create
Mhm.
pages are going to be gone. So it will have to depend on the ID, because that's what's getting passed in to these
Yeah.
routes. Yeah. So it's going to be easier to do. So I'll probably give this person a little bit of a heads up that it's going to be easier to do this job now that we've done the change to page query, because that was kind of a precursor to this one, or
Mhm.
yeah. Cool. I guess that's it. We'll need to do the
Very
summary,
cool.
Ola, and then let's do the summary on one of the easier ones on the topic of today.
Lars?
Okay. So on today's stream, very long stream, we've been going for 2 hours. We have been refactoring from using page context to page query. So I headed into this Gatsby node file for the distributed aid project, and they are creating pages using the create pages API. But what they were doing was that when they were creating, for instance, region pages, they were querying for all the data here in this query and then pushing all of the data into the page using the context. And when you do that, you lose kind of hot reloading. And Taylor's already said, like, oh, like now the pages are reloading really fast now that we're using page query, because Gatsby knows what page is connected to what data node. So what we do then is, instead of sending in everything, we just send in the ID. And by doing so, we're telling Gatsby that this page is connected to the region node that has that ID. And when we head into the page template, instead of getting all of that data from the page context, we are now getting it from the page query. So that's why we're now destructuring data from the props instead of page context. And the data is populated by this query that we have in our page template. And if we export or if we create a named export called query, that's what's going to be populated into that data prop. So whatever comes back from this query will be added to the data prop. And we're asking for the region, but we're renaming it to region because that's the name that was used throughout this page component. So it's nice to just keep the name, since somebody might be working on kind of this part of the template. And I just wanted to highlight that you can have several queries in here. So we are now saying that, okay, this page is kind of dependent on region. That's what we're saying when we were creating the page. But we could do maybe like a site query here. If we wanted to grab something from the site information, we could grab that here. We don't always have to use static queries to like populate our header and footer. We could also replicate the query in these page queries if that makes sense for kind of your use case. And that could be really important if you have kind of something that is kind of like static or just defined one place, but it's a large chunk of data. You don't want to like kind of query that in your header for every page. You kind of just want to query it on this page, because then you don't bloat your page data. Well, that was probably not on point right now, but you can have several queries here.
That makes a lot of sense, though.
Yeah. And also, if we wanted to get the sub-regions, I think here you've added them to the region by using a customer solver, I believe. But that could potentially be removed, and then you do a query for all subregions, and then you filter on the region ID if you have the region ID on on the sub. Or no, you could query on the region name, for instance, and then you could filter on the region name.
Yeah.
Like there's different things you could do here. But for this, this is absolutely a valid use of a custom resolver. But just to show people that you can do pretty cool things with a page query. It doesn't have to be just one thing. Yeah. That's what we did. And then we did the same thing for routes and for subregions. So now all of the templates have page queries and can now be refactored into file system by using the file system route API. So they'll come here under regions. There will be a file here for each region and each subregion. And then there will be a folder for routes and then a file for the routes. And that gives you a better overview. I feel when you're jumping into this project, you can go to pages and you kind of see all the pages there is, instead of having some pages be created by the pages and some created through the page API and templates. Now
Yeah, it's nice. It's just like what you recommended for Gatsby Node, right? Of hey, give me the overview. I don't need to see all the details. I also don't want that stuff hidden too much, right? So just tell me what's going on, and you can do that through the page API, like you said, under pages. We did it under Gatsby Node. It makes it a lot clearer and a lot easier to figure out where you should be looking for stuff.
Yeah. And utilizing, like we talked about, using really utilizing the data layer, like you already are doing by creating your own nodes and having those nodes have only the data you need. You are creating a really good foundation for the rest of the site. And the more Gatsby 5 is around the corner, and they're going to do more and more optimization where kind of based on these data nodes, they know what parts of the page needs to be changed. So one of the things they're working on are slices, because at this point, if anything changes for the page has to be rebuilt. But what they're starting to do now is that you can say that, oh, this header is dependent on this little bit piece of content. So if that changes, you don't need to change the whole page. You only need to change the header. And then they stitch that back in to the page. So there's less rebuilding going on. Yeah. It's called the Slices API. And then there's also going to be partial rehydration, which I think will be super interesting for you, because most of this is static. So you don't really need the whole page to rehydrate into JavaScript because it's all static data. So with the new partial hydration that is in alpha now, you can kind of let Gatsby know that this page is actually just static content. So then it won't even try to rehydrate all of this. It will only try to rehydrate the components that you have said are client-side components that need to be rehydrated and be interactive, which again will make the page load a lot faster around the world on slower devices.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So partial hydration, I'm very excited for that. We can do a stream about that down the road. Yeah.
Help me upgrade to Gatsby 5.
We'll see when it comes out. I think it's going to be out before Christmas. But as I said on a different call today, when I'm closing in on 2 hours, I just keep on talking. I can't stop. So Ola, you need to just jump in there and get this too, because now I'm rambling.
We can just stop. William, kom da.
I am getting hungry. Let's start making food for the pirate princess, and I started to get jealous there. So I might need to call stop. But it's been an absolute pleasure, Ray. Thank you so much for contributing to our code base. Thank you so much for teaching our community of contributors, some of the Gatsby way of things. I think that's incredibly valuable. And that's what I love about Distributed. We get to bring together all sorts of people, right? We're not like a tech for tech project. We're not a coding boot camp. We move aid, and so that's this very exciting external thing that tech people don't necessarily get into. But because of that, it's bringing together new developers, it's bringing together experienced folks like yourselves, and the work that we do, helps us with, our learning and our career and stuff. It also gets those boxes to where they need to go. So.
And thank you for showing up and embracing the theme and wanting to hang out and asking some good questions. And I hope we have some good comments here in the from Twitch. So I put them on the screen there for posterity, because this stream will then be on YouTube forever and ever and ever. So if you ever wanted to watch these 2 hours again, you can just head on over to YouTube and, remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, everyone from Twitch, because that will give the channel a little bit of a boost. And check out the
Yeah.
description for the newsletter where I send Gatsby treasures every day. Are you ready, Ola? You need to turn
Lillian
on your
thinks
on.
that
Yes.
Lillian thinks that the avatar of Noel with one L was very cute.
Oh, this one?
Yeah. Okay.
And she is overtired because she should have been in bed an hour ago.
She did a thugging treasure hunt with clugging Queen Raae, and our guest is Taylor. Junior Davis Villanora.
And then we wave awkwardly.
And